Hi everyone, it's Chrissie and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. So in today's video we're actually going to be building in Brindleton Bay and we're going to be attempting a build style that I'm not really all that comfortable with. So yeah, I am building this for my save file, as you could probably tell from the title. And we're actually going to be building a modern family farmhouse. Now I called it Modern Luxury Farmhouse just because this isn't actually a farm. There's no farming setup or any gardening space or anything like that. But I still called it a farmhouse because the style of build that I went for is technically considered like a modern farmhouse build. So yeah, we're building this in Brindleton Bay, and originally I do think maybe this house was part of a farm or something like that, and since then it has just been completely renovated and very modernized and everything like that. Or maybe it's just a new build and the Sims that live here just went for this farmhouse style without actually being on a farm. Now, the reason I didn't actually make this a farm is because it is for my save file, like I said, and it's actually for the Pleasant family. So basically I recreated, obviously we already had Angela and Lilith Pleasant in The Sims 4. We got them with the release of Discover University. The Sims team actually put them in Brichester as part of that expansion. But I did go through, obviously I gave them makeovers, everything like that, and then I decided that I wanted to recreate their parents. So Daniel and Mary Sue Pleasant from The Sims 2, if you've ever played The Sims 2, then you know who I'm talking about. But I'll put my versions of Daniel and Mary Sue up on the screen so you guys can see what I did. So I did try and stay as true to the original Sims 2 versions of them as I possibly could. I can't remember what traits I gave them or anything like that, because yeah, I created them months and months and months ago, and then now I'm finally getting around to doing their house. But basically I recreated them and I wanted to make them live in Brindleton Bay because obviously the twins will still be living in Brichester for my save file, so I'll still be building a cute little townhouse or something for them. But Daniel and Mary Sue, in my head, basically obviously the twins are older now in The Sims 4. They're young adults instead of teenagers like they were in The Sims 2. So Daniel and Mary Sue are both adults. I believe they're both quite a ways along in their adulthood, but they now live alone. So in my head though, this is the house that Angela and Lilith probably grew up in. So I do end up setting up some bedrooms for them and everything like that, even though they don't live here at the moment, but I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. So first off, I did just want to mention, that's why this isn't an actual farm lot, because I can't see either Daniel or Mary Sue having any interest whatsoever in farming or gardening or anything like that. They're basically, the only time that they spend outside is by the pool or entertaining by the grill or stuff like that. They're not very outdoorsy people. So yeah, that's kind of why I didn't make this a farm, and also why I made this a very luxury build. In a sense, it's a very it's definitely a very rich person's house, because Mary Sue is obviously in the politician career. She's very high up in the politician career. And then Daniel is in the athlete career. He's in the professional athlete career, and he's also very high up in that. So in my head, they would have a lot of money. They probably also inherited some money. I don't know if Mary Sue or Daniel was the ones that inherited money or whatever. But in my head, they're very well off, so they would have a very nice house. And then the reason that I went for this modern farmhouse style is because I figured it would be a style that Mary Sue, like in particular, would really like. So she's probably the one that decided on, you know, what the exterior of the house is going to look like. She's the one that decided, you know, what the interior of the house is going to look like. So the interior of this house is very matchy. It's very stylized. It very much looks like, you know, they hired someone to come in and decorate the place. And it definitely looks like, you know, they went in and they did everything at once, so everything matches. And it's all very much Mary Sue's like style of decorating. Even the girls' bathrooms, the twins' bathrooms and everything like that, they all match. So every bathroom in this house matches, all the same tiles and like floor tiles, walls, everything like that. Everything matches, just because I figured, you know, Mary Sue wouldn't have allowed the twins to like choose their own bathrooms or renovate their bathrooms, but she did allow them to paint the walls in their bedrooms. Probably when they like aged into teenagers or whatever, they were allowed to kind of like decorate their rooms a little bit differently from the rest of the house, but literally everything else in the house is like very matchy. And yeah, so that's just something that I wanted to mention. Now, before I get like too off topic, I do want to mention this trick that I'm doing with the exterior, with the like windows and the shutters and stuff. That took me so long to do. I had to cut out a lot of footage from this build as a whole, but there are a lot of things like, you know, doing the shutters for those windows. If you'll notice, I'm actually using windows from the base game and then also from the cats and dogs pack. And all of the shutters on every single window on this house are shutters that I actually made myself. So I didn't use a single window that, you know, comes with a shutter. I created my own ones. And this is actually a trick that I recently saw Simoleons do in a build. Now, I don't think it was one of her recent builds. I think it's definitely one of her older builds, because I've recently, you know, this week, if you follow me on Twitter, you already know this probably, but I've been kind of like binging a lot of older speed builds that I've missed, or, you know, that came out when I was maybe like taking a break from YouTube. Wow, I just hit the microphone. Sorry about that. But basically, I've been binging a lot of older builds that I missed or whatever, and I've been binging a lot of Simoleons stuff. And I saw this trick in one of her videos. Honestly, I can't remember which one it was. Like I said, I've been watching like a lot of them, so like I can't remember specific names, but I'll leave Simoleons' channel linked down below. Dawn is an absolutely amazing person and an absolutely amazing builder as well. So yeah, definitely go ahead, check out her channel. But yeah, doing this whole like trick with the shutters, where you actually use doors and then like size them down and rotate them and everything like that with the tool mod, and like use them as shutters. It was very finicky and like it took me a while to get everything done and to like move them, rotate them, all of that stuff. So I did cut out a lot of that, or like most of that. But I did that on the exterior, and then yeah, a lot of the exterior is very minimal. I do put a couple of wisteria plants, you know, just as a little bit of like detail on the exterior. And then obviously we have the big backyard that I'll talk about later on when I actually start furnishing it. But basically the exterior is very modern, I guess, or contemporary. It's very white. It's, you know, obviously has the dark brown accents in like the shutters, some of the columns, the like big garage doors and all of that stuff. But I did actually work off of a like a reference image, like a floor plan reference image. I'll try and see if I can find the exterior of that, like a picture of the exterior, and put it up on the screen, because it definitely inspired this build. Because like I said, I'm not really like very familiar with this kind of style, so I wanted to work off of a reference image. And obviously I did change it up a little bit, you know, especially like interior like proportions and stuff like that, because, you know, the Sims just doesn't really translate real life style and real life floor plans and stuff very well into the game. So obviously I did have to mess around with it. I also changed up the exterior colors a little bit and everything like that. And then also both the sides and the back of the house is fairly different from the like original reference image that I was looking at, because real life houses, the backs of them and even the sides, they're usually very ugly compared to the front. So yeah, it always annoys me in The Sims though, so I try to make them look a little bit more interesting. But yeah, so that's basically the exterior of the house. I did put in a couple of like darker wood paneling things, like siding on the exterior, just because originally I had it as just white. I used this white, like white paneling on the exterior, and then I also used some white brick, but it just all looked the same to me, and I really struggled with doing white builds. So I just had to add in that really dark, almost black paneling as well, just as an accent, just to make it look a little bit more, I guess, interesting. So yeah, that's the exterior. We're going to be doing the rest of the landscaping and the backyard at the end of the video, so yeah, stick around for that. But there's not much landscaping on this lot, honestly. I tried not to go overboard with landscaping because I figured, like I said, they're not very outdoorsy. And also, this is only a 40 by 30 lot, and the house itself is absolutely huge. So I didn't even have as much space on the exterior as I might have if the build wasn't as big. So yeah, it's a 40 by 30 lot. I don't think I've mentioned any of this yet, but it's a 40 by 30 lot. It's in Brindleton Bay. It's the empty lot. When you start a new game, it's the lot that's empty right by the docks area, by the like yacht club, country club looking thing. I can't remember the name of it, but basically it's by that really fancy lounge in Brindleton Bay. It's there. So it's the empty lot in that neighborhood, and it's 40 by 30. I actually ended up fitting in 4 bedrooms and 6.5 bathrooms in this build, which sounds insane if you think about it, but basically I did cut out all of the bathrooms. Unfortunately, I couldn't fit any of them into the video because, yeah, this video, once I had it sped up, it was like over an hour and 10 minutes long. So I had to cut out a lot of stuff, like I said. So I did end up cutting out whole rooms, but I'll talk about that in just a second. But basically, we have 6.5 bathrooms because every single bedroom basically has an ensuite. So the main bedroom downstairs for Daniel and Mary Sue, they have an absolutely ginormous bathroom. They have a walk-in closet and everything like that. It's very much like a main suite kind of thing. And then upstairs, we obviously have Angela and Lilith's bedrooms. They both have en-suites as well. Then we have a guest bedroom that I did furnish as a bedroom, but I cut it out completely because it's very plain. It's literally just a bed, a side table, a TV. I did put a TV in the guest bedroom, as well as some dressers, and that's literally it. So it's very plain, very like, I guess basic, because it is supposed to be a guest bedroom. They don't have an ensuite, but they the guest bedroom kind of like shares a little tiny like entryway type thing with the extra bathroom upstairs. So it's kind of an ensuite, but not really. But yeah, so we have that bathroom. And then downstairs, we actually have 2 other full bathrooms and a half bathroom. So you'll notice that at the front of the build, I actually have a little like entryway, and then I have the laundry room off of that, as well as the half bathroom for guests. Then we also have off of the backyard, and this bathroom you can only access from the backyard. We have a bathroom with obviously a toilet, a sink, and a shower. So kind of meant to be for, you know, if you're getting out of the pool or whatever and you want to like take a quick shower before you go in the house or whatever, you can totally do that. And then also because the original house plan that I was kind of like working off of for the floor plan and the shape of the build and everything actually had like a really big garage. So it had a 3-car garage and then a 2-car garage. Now, they were kind of like split up by this like little like extra entryway type thing, kind of like a side door type thing, like that like led into the kitchen. So I do have that little like entryway, and I actually ended up putting some coat racks and the parenthood board in there, as well as the thermostat for like temperature controls and stuff in the house. So that actually went in that little like entryway hallway type thing that leads into both garages. So the big garage, I say in air quotes 3-car garage, I actually don't furnish that on camera at all. I did it like right at the end of the video once I had stopped recording because there's nothing really in it. So I did put in a bunch of like shelving stuff and storage space and just a bunch of like random garage, like realistic clutter type things, as well as some like present piles from like seasons and stuff to make it look like maybe they're storing like some gifts or whatever in there, and like, you know, all of those bunch of like random garage realism type things are in there. I also ended up putting in a woodworking table, a flower arranging bench, and, you know, just stuff like that, even though neither of these Sims are like really into either handiness or flower arranging. I just use those things to like fill up space. So basically that garage doesn't really serve a purpose, and then the like middle of it is just like empty for, you know, where in my head they would park their cars, but obviously we don't have cars in the game. And I did put in 2 cars in the driveway at the front of the house. I did that off camera, I think, but you will have seen it in the like intro and in the pictures at the end. But obviously, you know, those are just decorative. But yeah, so that garage is kind of like an empty like bonus space. Obviously there are a couple of hobby things in there, like I said, but you know, you could easily turn the garage into whatever you wanted it to be. I don't know, maybe like another bedroom, or honestly I don't really know, that's totally up to you. And then the other garage, the 2-car garage, I actually completely renovated and I turned it into a gym, so like a home gym for Daniel, because obviously he's an athlete, so I figured, you know, that would kind of be like his space. So because Mary Sue is the one that kind of like decided on what the whole house is supposed to look like and going to look like, and she's kind of the one that decorated the entire house kind of like resembles her and her style and her preferences and everything like that. So the garage is kind of like Daniel's like little space that he has. He also has an office upstairs, but the office upstairs for him is basically the size of a closet in comparison to the rest of this house. I mean, his office space upstairs is literally the same size as the twins' bathrooms. So Angela and Lilith's bathrooms, their en-suites, are actually the exact same size as Daniel's office. So yeah, his office is really, really small, but that's still like his space as well. It's a different color to the rest of the house, but you'll see that later on. But basically the garage has, you know, a lot of workout equipment in it. It has some trophies that he's probably won in his like during his career. It also has a yoga mat, because I do figure that Mary Sue probably does yoga every now and then, so there's a yoga mat in there as well. And then the gym actually has its own separate like bathroom with a shower, a sink and a toilet. So yeah, he doesn't have to go through the whole house when he's all sweaty and stuff from working out. So yeah, you have that. That's why this house has like 6.5 bathrooms. But yeah, we've moved on to working on the office downstairs. Now, this office is right at the front of the house, right by the front door. And this is actually Mary Sue's office, because she's in the political career. So I figured she would definitely have an office at home where she probably spent a lot of time, and, you know, where maybe the twins growing up, like they weren't allowed in the office. Like they knew not to go in there, and maybe she takes business meetings here as well if, you know, she's not at the office or whatever. Maybe if she has like a home business meeting, they come in here, they, you know, have their meeting in here or whatever. And then I actually talk through like me furnishing the entire like living space, but you will have seen the living space already. I can't really tell you much more about it. I tried to like tone down the clutter as much as possible, so I did put in quite a few of these like built-in shelving units type things. I put in one in the living room by the fireplace. I put one in here by, you know, in that little like alcove type thing in the office. I also do that same trick in the upstairs like family room as well. So I tried to put in those shelving units, like built-in shelving units, and clutter them up a lot. But the other surfaces in the house I tried to keep as like, you know, clutter free as possible, just because again I figured Mary Sue would be very particular about, you know, where like stuff is in the house, and you know, people aren't allowed to move stuff around without her say so, and you know, everything has its place. You know, they have a lot of clutter and books and, you know, stuff like that, but they're all on shelves and they're supposed to stay on the shelves, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I did that. And you'll know, I've noticed in the kitchen as well, there isn't as much like kitchen clutter or like on the counters and stuff as I normally would put in my houses. But yeah, we've moved on to the main bedroom. Now, their main bedroom, like I said, they have their very big bathroom, and then they also have this closet space. Now, in my head, this closet space is literally just Mary Sue's stuff. So the clothes that I hang up are all very much more like feminine clothes. All of the shoes and stuff clutter that I end up putting in the like wardrobes are all very like feminine type of, you know, shoes and clutter and stuff. And in my head that was intentional, because this would probably be like Mary Sue's space. All of Daniel's clothes has to go in the one wardrobe in their bedroom, and that's it. So yeah, she's very much a like, she's a very, I don't know exactly what the word would be, but she's very much like a type A personality. And she's also very like, I don't know what, I can't think of the word right now, but she's very demanding, and she's also very like perfectionistic and very controlling as well. That's the word that I was looking for. But yeah, so I had a lot of fun with this house, just because of obviously the Sims that I was building it for. The style, like I said, that isn't my like regular style. Like intentionally trying to keep in mind that I'm not supposed to clutter up every single surface, although I do still clutter up a lot of surfaces. But I try to keep clutter like very contained to specific areas and not make the house look as messy or as lived in as I probably would normally. So if I were to have furnished this for a different family, for maybe like an actual like bigger family, not just two Sims, and they had like kids and toddlers and, you know, a bigger family, maybe like pets and everything like that, the house would have looked a lot different. It would have looked a lot more, I guess, family friendly, if that makes sense, in a way where there would have been toys everywhere and clutter, and you know, it would have looked a lot more messy and lived in, and like they've, you know, put something down somewhere and forgotten about it. But with this house, I figured, you know, Mary Sue would make sure that everything is in its place all of the time, so that if she ever has to bring, you know, someone from work over or, you know, anything like that, then everything is in its place. But also because I figured they would have a maid. They might even have a butler if that's something that you wanted to do. Obviously there is the extra guest bedroom that could be for a butler or whatever, but they would at least have a maid, and, you know, they would make sure that everything's clean like all of the time. So yeah, that's just something that I wanted to like make sure of as I was building this. But yeah, like I said, I had a lot of fun with this. I had a lot of fun just, like I said, trying to do it in a style that I'm not as comfortable with. And, you know, also a color scheme. Usually I don't go this white and bright with all of my interiors. I have done quite a few like bright interiors, but usually I try not to build with this much white. I mean, obviously I have a lot of darker wood accents, and I had a lot of fun with that in particular, like having a lot of white furniture, but then also having the darker woods. I use quite a few items from the Desert Luxe kit, as well as like stone accents for like the coffee tables, end tables, you know, stuff like that. That was really, really fun. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this house. Now, we've moved on to the upstairs. We've moved on to Daniel's office. And as you can see, this office is really, really tiny. And it basically just has a desk with a computer, not a chair, a couch in it, and then a little like I guess guitar music amp, and then a couple of guitars, and then just some more sports clutter. I put in the guitars in his office because I did end up giving Daniel, I think, like a level 4 or 5 skill in the guitar. So I figured, you know, maybe he plays music in like his off time or whatever. And then I just put some sport jerseys on the wall, and those two like magazine almost looking like framed magazine things. I figured those might be like magazines that he's been featured in, so he has them like framed on his wall. Now, I know I make Mary Sue sound very much like a pain in the behind, probably, and like Daniel is probably very unhappily married or whatever, but that is kind of fitting with their, like, with the story and the lore behind them from The Sims 2. They're not supposed to seem like this, or I mean, they're supposed to seem like this very perfect, like, you know, perfect couple, perfect family, but behind the scenes, they're very much not. And Daniel and Mary Sue aren't supposed to be getting along, because in The Sims 2, Daniel is actually having an affair with, like, the maid. He's having an affair with, I think, Dina or Nina Caliente as well. So I think Dina Caliente, yeah, the blonde one. Yeah, he's supposed to be having like an affair with Dina Caliente in The Sims 2, and it is actually set up that way in The Sims 2. But yeah, so they're not supposed to be very happily married. Obviously in The Sims 2, when you start off a new game, Mary Sue doesn't know that he's cheating, but if you kind of like play the beginning of their story like with the prompts that the game gives you, then it usually plays out where she does discover that he's cheating on her. But yeah, they're not supposed to be like a perfect happy family. So in The Sims 4, I did set it up that way as well, intentionally, which seems really, really bad, but I had a lot of fun with that, with like setting up the drama stuff. So obviously they have the house that very much looks like, you know, Mary Sue style. Daniel has his few little corners that he's like allowed to put his stuff in and decorate as he wants. But also their relationships and stuff I did set up kind of similar to the Sims 2 one. So Daniel is actually having, I think, 2 affairs. I can't remember exactly with who he's having the affairs. Honestly, I think it's one of the Calientes. I can't remember which one I set it up with, but he is having an affair with one of the Calientes and another Sim in my save that honestly I can't remember who it was. But he is having an affair, he is having his affairs. Mary Sue does actually have the workaholic lifestyle as well. And I gave Daniel the hungry for love one. So in my head, maybe he's having an affair because Mary Sue just doesn't pay any attention to him, like, whatsoever. She's very much more concerned with her career, and maybe I also gave him the sentiment of neglected by a workaholic. So yeah, it's very much a case of like, she is never home, she's always at work, she never pays attention to him. Maybe that's why he's cheating on her. Maybe he's just that kind of Sim. Doesn't really matter, but I did set it up that way for my save. So I do have that. And then, yeah, obviously the twins are they're both in university, so they live in Brightchester. I did set up their rooms, like, I set up their rooms kind of how I imagined they would have had it when they were teenagers. So, obviously they've moved out, they're young adults now, but their rooms are still set up basically the same as they would have had it as teenagers. They've maybe just taken some of their like smaller, more personal clutter with them, but otherwise all of their like big furniture. And you know, Angela actually has a vanity in her room, whereas Lilith has a desk, but their desks are still there. Maybe they've like taken their laptops with them to university, but everything else is still, you know, where they've left it. And Mary Sue probably leaves it this way for whenever they come home to like visit or whatever. Then, you know, they have their rooms as they left it. They're a little bit less cluttered than I probably would have, you know, done it if they were still living here. But again, that was very much intentional. And you might look at like some of the rooms in this house and think, you know, how is this like supposed to be less cluttered than my normal builds? But if you're a regular viewer on the channel, then you know that my regular builds do end up being a lot more cluttered than this one. Especially Lilith's bedroom. Lilith's bedroom is probably the most like cluttered and messy room in the whole house. It also probably just looks more messy than the other rooms because it's a lot darker than the other rooms in the house, which, you know, definitely fits with her style, her vibe, all of that stuff. Angela's room definitely fits in a little bit more with the rest of the house. It's a little bit more pink, but it's still like a lot of white and gray colors and kind of still fits with the house, whereas Lilith's bedroom is very dark, a lot of black, a lot of purple, and I love Lilith's bedroom so much. We've just started on it, and her whole room is actually inspired by this bed from the high school years back, and I love it so much. Actually, her curtains end up matching her bedspread. She has these like really dark mauve, almost purpley plum-ish color walls, and then a lot of her furniture is either like black or like dark purple, or you know, this wicker color and style that the bed is, which is really cool. You might not imagine Lilith to be a very like boho kind of styled sim, but I really liked this kind of boho style for her bedroom for some reason. She does have a couple of more, I guess, almost Victorian like furniture pieces, kind of like Angela does, but obviously in different colors. But then I also put in a couple of these more like wicker items, and it looks so nice. She also has a really big stereo in her room, and yeah, I love the way her bedroom turned out. It's probably one of my favorite rooms in the house. But yeah, so that's basically the twins' bedrooms, and that's basically the whole interior of the house, apart from the big garage, like I said, that I did off camera. Then we're going to be moving on to the exterior, and like I said, I didn't really do a lot of landscaping on the exterior. I basically just put in a couple of like those planter boxes, those debug planter boxes that you will have seen at the front of the house. I put a couple of those around by the walkway and by the driveway, and then that's basically it for like plants, like flowers and stuff. I don't really put many like freestanding plants or like plant beds around the rest of the house. There's a couple of trees. I put down a couple of like grass clumps around the trees just to make it look a little bit less flat than the terrain like grass normally does. But that's about it. I don't really do a lot of landscaping just because A, again, they're not very outdoorsy people, and also B, I didn't want to like fill up what little like grass space I had with a lot of plants. I wanted it to look very much like cleaner and less like overgrown and less landscape than I normally would. It would be very much more like, I guess, manicured in a way where, you know, with the flower boxes, they have plants in the flower boxes, but they don't have any like big bushes and stuff growing around. I do put in a couple of hedges, but you know, that's just a hedge. It doesn't really, in my mind, hedges don't really count as landscaping or like as like flowers, if that makes sense, unless they're very like wild hedges. but these ones are very much like manicured fancy hedges that I just put around a couple of the like walls that I did. So the fencing that runs around the whole back of the lot, that fencing is actually from the base game, and it's a debug fence. It's a like really big, like I guess concrete block fence, and I don't know exactly where in which base game world that shows up, but I really liked it for this. It meant that I could put the fence right on the edge of the lot, not like one tile in, which was really great, and it definitely fit in with this whole like modern farmhouse type vibe, which I really liked. Played into a lot of like the concrete stuff that I did. So yeah, I love the way that turned out. We also have this like outdoor kitchen area with the grill, a bar, a sink, you know, all of that stuff. And then we have this deck area that, because the house is on a like two height platform, basically I have the deck on the same height, and then it actually leads, you have stairs down into the lowered portion where the hot tub is. That does work, by the way. I did play test it. It works perfectly fine. And I really like the way this outdoor space turned out. Now, it did take me a while to kind of like figure out the layout for this area, because we have obviously the hot tub, and then we have this really like smaller 3-tile wide area, and then the bigger one. And just I couldn't figure out how I wanted to lay it out, where I wanted the table to be, where I wanted the couches to be, because I did want some outdoor seating and an outdoor table as well. But I end up doing something like this with just a 6-seater table, those couches from the Desert Lux kit by the hot tub, and then in the other corner that's still empty, I end up putting a bunch of plants, and then I also put in a spa day, like one of those massage tables where your Sims can get like manicures, pedicures, hand and foot massages. I end up putting one of those on the like deck area as well, just because it kind of looks like a fancy outdoors just relaxing chair, and also because it does have some gameplay purposes. So yeah, I ended up putting that there, and then I also put in a couple of armchairs by the grill, just on the little like open patio bit, I guess. I don't know what to call it, but open area that we have. I end up putting some armchairs, and then on the other side of the deck we have that lowered down fire pit area with the like bay seating like couches from the cats and dogs pack. I ended up putting those like lowered into the like, basically I made a room, lowered it down with a platform tool, and then have those couches in little like cutout bits, and then we have the fire pit in the middle, which I really like the way that looked. It just adds a little bit of interest to the backyard without me adding like a ton of like debug items and a ton of landscaping, which was really fun. And then we just end up putting in 4 like lounge chairs for like sun tanning, stuff like that, and obviously then just the pool, and that's basically it. So yeah, that's basically going to be the whole backyard. There's not much going on. Like I said, I didn't put in any play equipment or, you know, anything like that, because they don't have any kids like living with them at the moment, and even if they did, I figured, you know, even if they did have play equipment when the twins were younger, which they probably did, but when they got older, you know, they probably took them down or like got rid of it, because I don't think Mary Sue is the kind of sim that would leave like monkey bars in her backyard or like a jungle gym or whatever, just like hanging out in the backyard if, you know, she doesn't have any kids living with her. And even when maybe like the twins were children, they probably didn't even have that, because Mary Sue wouldn't have liked the way it looked. But yeah, I really like the way this house turned out. The backyard again it's one of my favorite backyards that I've done, but it's also one of the most different backyards that I've done, because normally whenever I build, especially if it's a build this big, it's usually a family home. So there's usually a lot of like family stuff or a lot of landscaping, or it's actually a farm and there's a lot of like farm space. But with this one, it was very much more just, I guess, rich people stuff. Like rich people backyard. But yeah, so I hope you guys like how this turned out. We're almost at the end of the video, and honestly, I cannot believe I did a 40-minute voiceover, because I know it hasn't been this long, like as long, you know, from the last time that I did a voiceover this long. That sentence made no sense. But basically, it hasn't been a long time since the last time I did a like really long voiceover. Recently, most of my voiceovers have been really long. But yeah, I was really dreading this one because, yeah, I mean, I did a voiceover. The last voiceover that I did was on Tuesday, and it wasn't as long. It was less than 30 minutes. But for some reason, this voiceover was just, I've been procrastinating on doing it all day. I've been editing this video all day. If you follow me over on Twitter, you already know this, but it's taken me like 6 hours to get this thing edited. And it's taken me forever because, like I said, I had a lot of footage. I had like 8 hours of footage that I had to cut down and speed up and, you know, edit out and make a length that wasn't like an hour long. So yeah, it's taken me forever. And whenever I have to do long voiceovers, I always end up like procrastinating on them because I don't know what I'm going to talk about for like 40 minutes. But I actually managed to do this one fairly okay, so that's good. I think this one turned out okay. I can't remember what I talked about, but I think it turned out okay. My voice is going though, so yeah, apologies if my voice sounds a little bit weird. But we're almost at the end of the build, so if you guys want to download this build, it is up on the gallery. It's completely custom content free. It's not pack restricted though, so I did use a ton of different packs because it is for my save file. But I'll have a download link below, as well as, you know, my gallery ID, the hashtags you can use to search for this, everything like that. The tray files will also be going up for channel members, and then in 3 weeks the tray files will become like public for everyone. But yeah, that's just something that I wanted to mention. All of the build information, like lot size, bedrooms, price, all of that stuff in the description as well. Also, I wanted to ask, this is a poll that I did on my community tab, but I wanted to ask again, because which day of the weekend do you guys usually prefer for videos? So if you watch a video over the weekend, do you usually watch it on a Saturday or a Sunday? Let me know down in the comments, but I hope you enjoyed this build. If you did, give it a like, you know, all the fun YouTube stuff, and I'll talk to you on my very next build. Bye guys!
I'm acting surprised, but I know I'm not over. You keep missing a fight, even though they're so overdue. We had a fire, now we're watching it burn low. Isn't it time we go our separate ways? Not enough time, not enough time. I'm falling behind, I hate to separate my body and mind, my body and mind. Ooh, I feel like demons in my mind, demons in my mind. It tastes like demons in my mind, demons pushing all my triggers, losing my pride. But I guess that's what love do to people like us, struggling to but I know I'm not over you. Keep missing our fights. Think I'm losing my mind, but I guess that's what love do.